Lawmakers in both chambers will likely soon be back at the Capitol to take on unfinished business over school funding. One big battle looming is whether to let parents use public dollars to pay for private schools. Governor Abbott says education savings accounts could give parents more control and help low-income and high-need students. But Democrats and some Republicans argue the idea will ultimately defund public schools.
Texas teachers are really raising concerns about a top Republican priority this session, school voucher program.
Governor Abbott has been traveling the state pushing for what he calls the Parental Bill of Rights.
Send their children to any public school, charter school, or private school with state funding following the student.
We're not fully funded now, and you're talking about taking more money away.
Here with hundreds of other parents, they want to be empowered with the freedom to make the best educational choices for their own children.
We all want what's best for our kids, and what's best for our kids is to have access to good quality public education.
The governor has said he wants to call lawmakers back at another time to handle the school choice, school vouchers that he had been pushing for all session.
We want to take a deeper dive into the issue of using public dollars to pay for private education. Education reporters Kelly Wiley and Nabil Ramadna gathered a panel of parents, educators, and lawmakers. We want to share some of the discussion focusing on the legislators. Their ideas give insight into how the debate could play out at the Capitol.
Just real quick, I want to be clear on something because people are like, should we bring school choice to Texas? I might say something here that's going to surprise some folks. We have school choice in Texas. If you're rich, you can send your kid wherever you want to send them. If you're poor, you cannot. And I firmly believe that school choice and education freedom is the civil rights issue of our time. There is nothing more immoral, unethical, or unfair than to say to a poor student in a poor family who just wants to have a chance at a quality life, and the most important thing to have that is to get a quality education. But to be trapped in one of the, while we have great public schools in Texas, as I said before, I'm a proud public school parent myself. My wife and I make the choice to send our kids to our great local public schools. But not every Texan has that choice. As I mentioned, only 24% of Texas 8th graders can read and do math on grade level. And here's the most important thing that we always have to go back to. Who should be the person that makes the decision for where, when, and how an individual child is educated? And I believe with all of my heart that it is the parent that at the end of the day, the state of Texas needs to prioritize and support, because I've got 4 children. The idea that all 4 of them have the same needs and learning aptitudes and interests as the other are absolutely ridiculous. I choose to send my kids to public schools. I've got public school teachers in my family, and I've got public school teachers that I'm good friends with who send their children to private school. There are families where the public school is the perfect solution for 2 or 3 of their kids, but for one kid, especially if we're talking about socioeconomic or special needs children, they need maybe a slightly different environment where their needs can be tailored and curated to make sure that every child in the state of Texas receives a quality education.
May I?
Yes, of course.
What's important to remember in this conversation is the choice doesn't belong to the parent. The choice belongs to the private school. The private school gets to decide under a voucher scheme, under an ESA scheme, whether or not your child fits the bill. Does your child score high enough on a test? Is your child the right religion? Does your child have a disciplinary record? On and on and on. Is your child the right fit for our school? So it's a misnomer to call this parental choice, right? It's the school's choice. It's gimmicky. What I know is parents assume when you talk about parental choice and getting a voucher that they're going to be able to choose whatever school they want to and have money to pay for the tuition, when we know lots of the most popular private schools charge a tuition that is well out of reach of what the state has contemplated offering in a voucher. Again, it's not the parent's choice. I grew up in a Title I public school. I sent my kids to Title I schools. So many of our families would never be able to take advantage of a voucher or an ESA, or even for a charter school for that matter, because they do not, again, fit the bill for the charter school. right? The charter school gets to choose who those children are. Our public schools, our neighborhood schools, our ISDs are the only schools that take all kids. They are required by our state constitution, different from colleges, right? This is a requirement for our, that is fundamental, foundational in this state. And we are not fulfilling that requirement. We are not fully funding our public schools.
If we could hear Representative Van Dever, I just want to hear your thoughts on this topic as well.
You know, we hear a lot about parental choice, and I think we all agree that the parent should be in control of their child's education, and I believe the parent has an opportunity to do that in a public school. Our public schools are independent school districts. We have elected boards that govern our local schools, and so we have the opportunity for our parents to be involved in that process. But I will say, I'm open to the conversation because I do know that we have students who, for whatever reason, maybe just can't find the fit. And so I'm open to a conversation, but around that conversation, again, to some of the other comments, does the voucher completely pay for tuition to the private school? I think that should be a requirement, that if a private school is going to take a voucher child, they can't charge additional tuition. If the private school takes a voucher child, do they get to choose which voucher children they take? No, they should take all vouchers if they take any. They should take the same test public school children are taking. I'm looking for a level playing field. I'm open to the conversation, but we need to make sure we're not tilting the table in favor of one or the other.
That discussion was just one part of our special report, State of Education. In addition to school choice, the panel of lawmakers, parents, and educators took a deep dive into questions of funding and safety in schools. You can see the full discussion online now. Just look for the link in this week's State of Texas story in the Texas Politics section of our website. It's a program that lets immigrants brought to the country illegally as children stay in the United States, but now it's in jeopardy. How a judge's ruling on DACA is putting new pressure on Congress to act.